Hey guys, Tally here, and today we're going to be reviewing possibly one of the best rogue decks of the format. In the box here we've got True Draco, and we're just going to take a look at it. It's a really cool deck. Tommy very kindly asked me to do this for him because he doesn't have the time to do it himself. So let's just dive in and take a look. Okay, so starting off with the monsters, we run one Dynamite Knight because you can't run more than one, it's limited. 3 Ignis Heat, and 3 of the other one. Okay, do you know what, I don't know what I'm doing here. Ultimately, they all do different things when your opponent starts or does anything, right? So they just don't care, they just do things. So this one will actually search out a Draco. Dynamite Knight will search out or set one of your spell or traps, and Ignis Heat will... Okay, so sorry, yep. Totally have no idea what I'm doing here. I'm doing this pretty blind, so whenever your opponent does something, this will get you a monster, this will get you a spell, and this will get you a trap. Honestly, they're quite a... I don't really know what the word is. I wanted to say ignorant, but I wouldn't say that. They just do not care what your opponent does. They just play their game. So they're all quite cool. Please bear in mind, this can be ashed and this can be ashed, since in their text it does say you can add it to your hand, so that's something you want to always be careful of. Then for our other monsters, we're on the 2 Inspector border, which is pretty much Mystic Mine on legs. You know, it just says your opponent cannot do things. And again, that's quite useful, right? Especially in a deck that wants to control the tempo and really slow down your opponent. And sometimes they'll just scoop based on that amount of text, and it is a really weirdly worded card. So sometimes they'll just scoop because of that. I have actually seen Inspector Border win games before because some decks just cannot play through it to start their combos. And that's it. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 monsters in the deck. Now, most decks are quite the opposite. They run a lot of monsters and not a lot of back row. True Draco's quite... I don't know if I want to say unique, but it is quite different in the sense that it does run at a really low monster count because it's so good at always finding its monsters. Okay, so speaking of finding its monsters, we have 3 Heritage, 3 Disciples of the True Draco Phoenix. According to Tommy, this card's a girl next door. This card is just great. It's just bae. It's just beautiful. So this card lets you just draw cards. Okay, during your main phase, you can draw cards equal to the number of True Draco and 2 King card types sent to the graveyard. So if you send a spell, a monster, and a trap to the graveyard, then you actually get up to 3 draws. Disciples of the True Draco something, True Draco Phoenix, lets you shuffle 3 back in and draw 1. So honestly, the deck's so good at really digging deep and actually finding those resources to be able to outgrind your opponent or to very quickly shut your opponent down with multiple different floodgates. And as well, you can also tribute these to summon out True Draco monsters. So that's also a really good thing about it. Again, you want to see these really early. You can search them out pretty well. Heritage is kind of what you always want to be searching out kind of early on. Just so you can set those plays up really early, and then you just go for it, right? You just dig really deep into your deck, and Disciples really helps you grind later on in the game. Then, because this deck does nothing but draw cards, we have 3 Card of Demise. Pretty much this deck's one of those decks where you just set your whole hand, maybe summon a monster, and then play Card of Demise. So you just draw 3, right? There's very few times where I haven't seen Tommy draw 3 off this card, and then it's also the reason why the deck doesn't run hand traps, so it's difficult to go second. But a lot of the spells and traps actually, when they leave the field, either via tribute summon or just being popped, they actually pop different things. The spells pop back row and the traps pop monsters. Okay, so while you can't run hand traps in the deck really effectively, by using the spells and traps in the deck, it means that you can actually still break boards and make boards. Okay, so that easily allows you to run Card of Demise, which is just really free advantage. You know, the card says draw 3, how much more free can you get? Then, speaking of free, free Dragonic Diagram and 2 extra copies of Dragonic Diagram. There's been so many situations where I've been playing against Tommy and he's played 2 Diagram and I've negated both of them, and then he has a 3rd Diagram or he has a Terraforming. And because this card isn't once per turn, if you open 2 Diagram, you've got 2 free searches. You have to pop things to be able to search, but realistically in a deck that has nothing but resources, then it's very easy to find cards to actually destroy from Dragonic Diagram, to be able to actually get your resources. Okay, so 5 copies of Dragonic Diagram. Dragonic Diagram being probably the most important card in the deck, being your key searcher, gets you any True Draco card or True King card. Also gives your monsters protection, so it makes them more difficult to destroy, and it gives them a bit of an attack boost again, so just trying to out it's not resource essentially, but outgrind and just push your opponent and poke them a little more, and just make it harder for them to play through your board and make them really waste their resources, while you can just do nothing but infinitely recur yours if you play right. Then again, because we love to draw cards, 2 Duality and 2 Desires. Tommy made a point to me earlier that mathematically 3 Desires is correct, okay? But Tommy made the point earlier that you do so much digging in the deck that you don't need to run 3 Desires, because the likelihood of you seeing it through Card of Demise, through Pot of Duality, is incredibly high. Now with Pot of Duality you have the real downside of not being able to special summon monsters for the turn. Excuse me? What do you mean this deck doesn't special summon? Okay, turns out Pot of Duality has actually no downsides whatsoever, so it's just free, again, free resources. Pot of Desires just says draw 2, right? Who cares if you banish 10, those resources don't matter anyway, because they're not doing anything for you. And Pot of Desires could win you the game, because you draw into one of those really, impactful floodgates that the deck runs. Okay, moving on to the True Draco traps. So we have 3 of the Apocalypse and 1 True King's Return. Basically, this is Monster Reborn. This messes with your opponent's attack points, and if they leave the field or they're sent to the graveyard, more importantly, then they pop things, right? They pop monsters as opposed to the spells, which pop back row. And then they also let you tribute summon using these as material on your opponent's turn. So again, it allows you to be proactive with actually gaining resources and impacting your opponent's resources. This has the unfortunate caveat that you can't special summon for the rest of the turn, but again, we've kind of been over. Dracos don't actually care about their special summon. Again, these are actually really cool. There's a trick with Apocalypse where you let your opponent attack, then you pop your own monster, and they cannot attack again. There's no replay that occurs, so then they actually have wasted an attack, and then, you've kind of started to outplay them in a sense, because it means that, if you've got this, you can bring it back, and you can just kind of loop that a little bit. You can really start to mess with your opponent's resources. If you have like this on the field, you can bring a monster back, and then on your turn you can Apocalypse this and pop a monster on their side of the field, so that they start to waste resources, and you can start to get those small pluses. This is ultimately a control deck, so it's all about the smaller pluses and smaller minuses against your opponent's deck for the rest of the game after your first turn board, which you really want to get as many resources as possible with. This deck is one of those, set 4, Card of Demise, set 2, summon a monster, pass. Okay, I don't know how you're going to set 2 after you set 4, because that's 6 cards, but you know what I mean, right? Ultimately, lots of drawing and setting cards. Okay, and then for some of the more control aspects of the deck, we do have some floodgates here. There can be only one. The Monarch's Erupt, and Crackdown's not a floodgate, we'll get to you in a second. Okay, there can be only one, essentially. As the name suggests, there can be only one, right? If your opponent's playing a deck that it's really mono-type, then they cannot have more than one, which can slow down a lot of decks. Some things like, I'll get that gone, that's really rude. I'll get that, sorry. Some decks like Salamangreats, if they don't have an out, the Twin Twisters or I think Foul, then it's really difficult for them to play through. There can be only one, and it can really slow them down, especially once they've committed to their play and they can't get all of those monsters on the board because of there can be only one. And then the Monarchs Erupt, because you pretty much always control I totally forgot the word. Yeah, a tribute summoned monster, because you pretty much always control a tribute summoned monster. The Monarch's Erupt is just skill drain. It is probably one of the nastier cards in the deck, especially because not a lot of cards these days, or not a lot of decks more so, actually tribute summon. I can think of True Draco, and that's pretty much it. If you can think of anything else, let me know down in the description below. Not the description, the comment section. And yeah, right, these floodgates are really impactful. Monarchs Erupt sometimes just wins you a game there and then, so you want to kind of see these as early as possible, which is why we run an insane amount of draw power. Then for our last couple traps, we have 2 Crackdown because it's pretty much Widow Anchor, but in reverse, and then 1 Solemn Judgment because it's just a good 40th card, right? Again, drawing into this just really slows down your opponent. It's really shiny as well, you know, so that always helps. But yeah, right, so the deck ultimately, again, as we said, it's a control strategy, so Crackdown, stealing your opponent's monsters and tributing them off, really, again, it's just those kind of minuses. You want to plus that little bit more than your opponent does, and eventually you'll just out-resource them. So that's the main deck. The side deck's really important for Dracos, okay, so we'll have a look. I normally say play your meta for the side deck because it's an easier answer, but ultimately the True Draco side deck's really important. So, because honestly, your normal summon isn't too important in the deck, you can go second inside in Sphere modes, because you can tribute summon using your spells and traps, and they actively allow you to tribute summon in addition to like your normal summon, then that lets you pretty much run this for free. And then once you get this back, you just tribute it off in itself to get out, you know, Majesty Maiden or another Ignis Heat. Then Red Reboot, because it's Red Reboot, right? And this deck doesn't necessarily OTK all the time, so Red Reboot's a weird one, but you do, again, want to just out-resource your opponent. If you can, like, Red Reboot and then start to pick apart their board, then it still makes Red Reboot worth it, despite the fact that you haven't finished the game that turn. And sometimes the deck can just finish the game that turn as well. And then we have Freelancia, because Orchestra and Thunder Dragon are in fact a thing. And yeah, right, so that's a really important kind of aspect of the meta. Tommy's given me 6 Red Reboot. You know, call this Twin Twisters, right? I think that's what he meant to do. But yeah, again, you can run back row hate, extra back row hate. Speaking of back row hate, evenly matched as well. And again, it's just for those decks where you want to kind of blow your opponent out, really force them to, like, if they've got negates out, force their negates out. Evenly matched isn't once per turn. If you have what I call Tommy luck, you often draw 2 of them. So again, you just blow your opponent out, and there's few things more satisfying than saying draw phase, standby phase, main phase 1, battle phase, end of battle phase, and then seeing that look of terror on your opponent's face. But yeah, so that's the side deck. This is really important because the deck needs that extra flexibility, and the side deck is more important to this deck than I would say to a lot of different decks. But again, because going second, the deck still actually can pick apart boards, it's really important to actually have the correct side deck. Okay, so going to round things off here, guys. True Dracos is realistically, right, despite the fact that I hate kind of floodgated decks, it is one of the better rogue decks of the format. I think it's going to be one of those decks that and Pendulum are kind of the new Burning Abyss. They're never really going to die. They're always going to be really good options. So guys, if you're looking for a control deck on the relatively cheap, True Draco's not too expensive, I'd pick it up, okay? It's a really good deck if you know how to play it and if you know how to control tempo, and if you're good at control strategies, which I'm not, so I don't play True Draco, or if you just want to sit on a bunch of degenerate floodgates, right, because that's always fun. This is a great deck, okay? For as much as I don't like control decks, for as much as I've tried to like them and don't myself, it's a really good deck. It's a really safe option. It's very unlikely to ever get hit on the ban list again because they don't have Masterpiece. If anything, over time they'll slightly get Power Creep, so they might get Dynamite Knight back to 2. Yeah, but we'll say 2. But as always, guys, let's round things off here. If you like to give it a like, if you liked it, or if you loved it, sorry, give it a share and tell your friends about Team Tally. If you yourself want to join Team Tally, then hit that subscribe button down below. Okay, it's like right here. I can't remember. It's somewhere down there. Okay, as always, you've been fantastic. I've been Tally, and I have a dog to go rescue, right? So I'll catch you later. Bye.